Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to
Brutal.
the MMA podcast.
Hello, guys. And today we're a little short-staffed because...
Was that a short joke?
Maybe. Charles, Mr. Phil Big himself, has appendicitis. And he missed the fight because of the appendicitis. That's the biggest deal to me. To him, it's the appendicitis. But yeah, he's not here for today's episode, unfortunately, but we'll have him in the next one, hopefully, when he's recovered and healthy. So prayers up for him. And we're going to jump right into UFC 289. It was an awesome pay-per-view. It delivered way better than I thought it would. I was really worried that it would be a mediocre card. But honestly, it really showed out and did way better than I thought it would. Starting off with Steve Ekrig and David Dvorak. I wasn't expecting a whole lot in this fight because it was Steve Ekrig's UFC debut, and he was fighting the 10th ranked flyweight in the division. I thought it was going to be steamrolling for Dvorak, to be honest. That's what I was thinking in my head. But Steve won, I think, just about every round. Maybe the first round you could give to David, but in the second round, head kick dropped David Dvorak. Hit him in the back of the head with the head kick after he stunned him. It was a really entertaining fight. I mean, for flyweights, there's only a few really entertaining flyweights. I'd give it to Kai Kara France, Brendan Moreno, Alexander Alejandro Pendoja. I never get his first name right, but you know who he is. Yeah. He beat Brendan Moreno twice, and they're gonna have their rematch pretty soon here. But that was the first fight. No, that was the second fight. The first fight was Belbita versus, the name escapes me, Oliveira. Chick Oliveira. She didn't do very good in this fight. I mean, kind of got dominated. It was a pretty stinker of a fight to start the night, to be honest with you. But Belbita is gorgeous, I gotta say. She's a pretty young lady. I'm excited to see more of her. Gotta say. After that, I'm gonna pull it up because my memory is failing me at the moment. We had Cal Nelson and the undefeated Blake Builder at the time. Blake Builder kind of didn't push the pace. He wasn't landing correctly. He wasn't gauging his distance well. And he kind of just got outstruck every single round by Cal Nelson. Cal Nelson showed up and did what he was supposed to do. Got the win in there for Canada. So,
Wait, so for this card, was it that no Canadian fighters lost? I'm pretty sure all the Canadian fighters on the card won.
5-0 for Canada. So it was really cool, actually.
It's good for Vancouver.
Yeah, good for all of Canada. I love Canadian MMA fighters. I really wish Hakeem Dawodu, his fight didn't get canceled. He's one of my favorite Canadian fighters. He's an amazing Muay Thai striker. But he seems to be cursed with missing fights. I've seen him at least get 3 or 4 fights canceled. So no, I have a YouTube edit of him when I started first following UFC from 2019. I was so into that guy. But hopefully he rests up and gets well soon and gets it on in the next fight. But after that one, we had Ayman Zahabi versus Arichi Lang. I had Arichi Lang winning, and I told someone to bet on Arichi Lang. I am so sorry because Arichi Lang got bodied in the first 2 minutes. It was actually a really funny moment. He got knocked unconscious, right? And the cornerman stand him up and everything, and he walks to the center octagon and puts his fists up because he thinks the fight's still going on. He thinks it hasn't even started yet.
He's back on autopilot.
He's totally on autopilot. So he walks to the middle, puts his fist up, and they're telling him no, the fight's over.
Stop! No, it's okay.
I was reading the comments, and they're like, he won in seconds, and I was like, no. Pretty unfortunate. I love Richie Lang, one of the best power punchers in bantamweight, but Zahabi proved he's better with the power punching, honestly. Found his opening, landed correctly, and put Arichi Lang out of there. So that was a fun fight. Next on the prelims, we had Miranda Maverick versus Jasmine Jusudavicius. Yeah,
I was about to say, what did you just say?
Jusudavicius. I said it good the first time, okay? I can't pronounce it now for some reason. But that was a relatively okay fight. Miranda Maverick is saying she couldn't see out of one eye, and she's partially blind or something. I only saw the headline, and I should have looked more into it, but apparently it's something to do with their eye affected her during the fight. So hopefully she gets better soon, and I do like Miranda Maverick, but I feel like there's some decisions that she had in the past that shouldn't have gone her way. So it's good to see the correct person win this time. I think Jasudavicius did way more than Miranda Maverick did during that fight, so I'm glad she got the win. And next on the prelims, unfortunately, we had Chris Curtis and Nasruddin Imavov. I had Curtis winning this fight, but Imavov was winning every single round. He was pushing the pace, landing the jab, slipping punches, and Curtis definitely seemed frustrated. It reminded me a lot of him versus Jack Hermanson, because versus Jack Hermanson, he started cussing him out in the third round and saying he was like a pussy and trying to chase him. Chris Curtis really needs to learn how to deal with a range advantage. But unfortunately, a headbutt happened in the second round. Chris Curtis claims he couldn't see. I believe him. It was a really nasty cut, and there's blood going straight into his eyeball. So
resulted in a no contest. It was unfortunate because they were actually pretty much, or at least in my opinion, I thought they were keeping pace with each other. It just went like really entertaining, but it's always unfortunate when you know that a fighter gets stopped early.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of expecting him to make kind of a comeback. Because I know he kind of got bodied in the first round.
See, Imavov isn't really a power puncher, but Chris Curtis is, so he still had a puncher's chance. I could see him getting it done in the third round if he really pushed it. He just has to land one punch. We saw it against Joaquin Buckley, and Joaquin Buckley takes punches from everybody. I mean, the only guys I've seen him get dropped against is Kevin Holland and Chris Curtis. So those are two guys who hit really hard and they knock out most of the people they fight. So hopefully Chris Curtis heals that cut up and gets back in there, gets another win under his belt, because I really enjoy the way Action Man Chris Curtis fights. He just needs to figure out those range fighters. Maybe get on the wrestling bike a little bit. But do you have any opinions on Chris Curtis's game in that fight?
Honestly, I thought he, did his usual, like, kind of attack first sort of deal.
Definitely a pressure fighter. Pushes the pace.
A lot of pressure, but he just, I don't know, he didn't, like, be as dominant as, like, I kind of expected him to be. Yeah, or at least try and, like, push, I guess, him against the cage sort of deal and just kind of body him. But
he had 100% takedown defense before this fight, and he actually got taken down in the very first round, and I was like, what? Because before that, he defended 35 takedowns. So he was amazing takedown defense, but Chris Curtis just seemed slow and a little bit out of place. Imavov had the upper hand, and it sucks. He got the win taken away from him from that cut, but I mean, I think I'll see both those guys back in there soon. They fight pretty often. They're active fighters, so hopefully they both get back out there pretty soon. And we move on to the main card. We had a really good start to the main card with Eric Anders and Marc-Andre Barriault. Barriault, the Canadian, and Eric Anders, the American, former collegiate football player, actually. I think he was really good in football, too. Just didn't end up working out as a career, and he pursued MMA since then. I think he started when he was a little bit older, too. But he's really good technique, and I had him winning the second round. I thought he was landing right. The knees, his clinch work has improved so much, which is I'm really glad to see, because it's a new ripple to his game, but still a step slow.
Was it a split decision? Because I seem to remember.
No, it was unanimous. It was 29-28 though, so they gave 1 round to Eric and 2 rounds to Marc-Andre. It was a good fight. Eric Anders really needs to work on the combos. I only saw him throw the jab to straight.
I remember that. Just like repeat.
I started to get frustrated with it because I'm like, come on.
Oh, watch this. He's gonna do it.
I would call it out before it happened. They do it. He needs to work on the hooks, maybe, just getting in tighter. And his takedown attempts were really lackluster. He wouldn't blast any doubles. He would just kind of grab the leg and let go. It was a little bit of a disappointing performance from Eric Anders, but he added new ripples to his game, and hopefully the UFC don't cut him. I think he's maybe like 1-3 in his last 4. He did win a fight by knockout not too long ago, actually against Cal Daukaus, the brother of Chris Daukaus, who was supposed to fight Khalil Roundtree on this card, which was going to be an amazing fight, but unfortunately got canceled. Chris Curtis had some sort of injury and pulled out. Hoping to see Khalil Roundtree fight. He's one of my favorite fighters, the most brutal fighter of all time in my opinion. Has this crazy body kick on Carl Roberson. As he's coming up, he drops him, and then as he kicks him in the body so hard, it bounces it back off the cage. And I really would have loved to see him on this pay-per-view, but hopefully he fights soon against Chris Curtis. I believe it's been rebooked, actually, for August. So hoping to see that fight play out and no injuries come in between it. A lot of injuries recently, especially on this card. A lot of fights got canceled, but still, regardless, an amazing card because the fighters showed out. Next, we had Danny Ige and Nate Landwehr, Nate the Train.
I put the dog in underdog.
I put the dog in underdog. I love Nate the Train. He's got funny catchphrases, and he pushes the pace when he fights. He was pushing the pace this whole fight, but Danny Ige is just so quick. He was just blasting him with these hooks and these straights. His jab was landing. Nate Landwehr was just a step slow. Ige's power and speed was just way too much for him.
The thing is, though, that I found really interesting is that, was it Nate? His cardio is amazing.
He used to be a track athlete.
Yeah.
He used to run 800.
Yeah.
For Ige, about half a mile.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
For Ige in like round 3, he was still hitting hard.
Yeah.
But he was definitely
way
tired. Slower.
He got tired in that last round.
By probably like a third of the way through the second round, you can tell that he was already like super slow.
And Nate was still there.
Yeah,
but
he was just.
He did get rocked a few times, so I think that made him too cautious. I had him winning that third round. Honestly, he started putting the pressure on, knees, elbows. He made it really fun. He always does. I've been a big fan of him ever since San Diego. So hoping Nate gets back in the win column after this. But I'm really glad Danny Ige's put together 2 wins after a 4-fight losing streak. So
I didn't know he was on that long of a losing streak. Who did he?
He lost to a lot of really good fighters. He fought like a bunch of killers on Killers Row or Death Row, that's what I call it. But by the way, it's pretty stacked. So got a lot of really good talent in there. But after that fight, we had Mike. We call him Mike Mallet. I know it's like Mike Malott or Mike Malott, but we call him Mike Mallet because he hits like a fucking mallet. Really good fight between him and Adam Fugit. I always want to say Adam Egit because he's one of my favorite comedians, but it's Adam Fugit. Adam Fugit, he was fighting really well in that first round, but to start off immediately, Mike Mallet hit the liver shot. You could see him start to crumble. Watching
a fighter like just try and power through that is just crazy to me.
He did really well.
He paused and then just kept fucking going.
Yeah,
no, but you could tell that he like was tilted.
Most guys, they drop from that. They can't recover. I mean, you get hit in the liver, your whole body feels like it's shutting down. It's one of the most excruciating pains you can have as a fighter. I mean, I've seen guys break their toes. I've seen guys break their hands, stuff like that. They don't stop fighting, but they get a liver shot, they drop. I mean, look at Ryan Garcia. He was fighting Tank Davis, basically got his liver grazed and dropped like a fly, and he couldn't get up for 10 seconds.
Is the liver shot the one you were talking about where it's kind of delayed, where they'll hit, you're like, oh, I'm fine, and then just die?
Mm-hmm. It happens delayed pretty often, but sometimes it's instant. And with Fugit, it looked pretty instant. I mean, he got kicked right there, and then he immediately started hunching over. Makes you feel like you want to puke. It's not a fun feeling, but I've learned that the hard way. No. Thank you, Mr. John, for kneeing me in the stomach multiple times. But really,
light sparring.
Really good fight. One of my favorite Canadian prospects now, Mike Mallet. I'll say his name correctly, Mike Malott. He did really well. He had amazing striking, pushed the pace the whole fight, was in control, and landed a really nasty guillotine submission. It was so tight. I knew as soon as he grabbed that neck and pulled him down, I'm like, he's not getting out of there. And then he got the mount, and it was Tap City. I mean, a second later, he would have been unconscious. So really good fight there. Really enjoyed that one. Do you have any opinions about that fight?
Honestly, not many opinions on either of the fighters because I wasn't really aware of either of them before this card. But
Fugit's only had 2 UFC fights.
Oh, okay.
His first fight was lackluster, but his second fight he won. Mm-hmm. He's a pretty decent fighter, but Mike Mallet is a really good prospect from Canada.
Okay, so I've been watching UFC for a while now, but seeing, I guess, like the power behind like body hits, because I'm pretty sure right after was it Malo capitalized on that first body kick, he threw another body kick like maybe 30 seconds later, and he was like, Fugit was like backpedaling towards the cage. But you just keep on piling on those hits onto the liver. Just like
the thing is with the liver, it's a little bit different than the head because when you get hit in the head really hard, it'll make you wobbly, right? So you want to try and jump on them and hit their head real hard. And sometimes they'll get hit in the head again and they'll be fine, they'll recover. But the liver, You get hit in the liver once, and then the second time, it does the same effect. It's
like
already there. It's like anywhere near there just becomes extremely sensitive to the fighter. So if you keep ripping it, they're going to drop, and you will finish that.
But seeing him just hone in on, I am going to hit every single like shot I throw at the body was
pretty savage.
Crazy.
It was pretty cool. Really great fight from Mike Mallet. So after that, we had Charles Bronx Oliveira.
He's back.
Illuminato. I was unbelievably excited to see Charles Oliveira back in the cage. I was bouncing with joy. And Charles Oliveira walked in the cage. He went to Beneil's corner, shook all their hands, embraced them as the good, humble man he is. And like he said in the Embedded series, I'm going to kill this guy. That's what his confidence level was at. And I don't think I saw a confidence level when he was fighting Islam. And I'm glad to see the dog put back in Oliveira. He walked out there, did exactly what he needed to, immediately landed a head kick that seemed to actually really affect Beneil.
He really wobbled Beneil.
I don't believe that one wobbled him too hard, but his guard broke. So you could see the kick go through his guard, and he was like, whoo. And then Charles from there put the pace on, pulled guard, and I was really worried about him pulling guard because last fight he fought Islam Makhachev, and from the guard, it didn't go well for him. He got choked out. He got out jiu-jitsu'd even. That Sambo really destroyed his jiu-jitsu there. But he was also rocked. He was dropped from that, right? And I know Charles Oliveira has one of the best guards in the game, but I was still, having PTSD flashbacks of Islam Makhachev.
Now, is Beneil also like kind of like a jiu-jitsu pro? One of them?
Absolutely. Okay. He was saying that he thought his jiu-jitsu was like 10 times better than Charles Oliveira. He says 10 out of 10 times I beat Charles Oliveira on the ground, which, super ignorant. And it showed because even the commentators were noticing it. When Beneil was throwing his punches on the ground and pound, Charles Oliveira was slipping all of them, and you could hear him hitting the canvas. Yeah. Because he would throw a punch, he'd slip it just a little bit, and it would hit the canvas. And Charles Oliveira was landing hammer fists. He landed an up kick, elbows. He was landing more than Beneil was. And then he pushed him off him, pushed the pace back on him, landed the head kick, wobbled him, chased him, hit him with that same punch that he did against Michael Chandler, dropped him, and jumped on him like a mad dog, and tried to get the back. Beneil rolled, and he just ground and pounded him out.
Sack of potatoes on the canvas.
Yes,
it was great.
Yes, ma'am. Jason Herzog had to stop it, and as he's getting up, you still see Beneil like trying to get up. He falls through the cage because his corner is opening it up, so he falls over. I mean, it was such a great showing from Charles Oliveira, and the champion has a name, and his name is Charles Bronx Oliveira. I'm so excited to see him back. They have to schedule
that fight again.
They're going to. Everyone seems interested in it. Javier Mendez, the coach of Islam Makhachev, says he's first in line.
Get into it. Yeah.
I'm saying October in Abu Dhabi. It's going to happen. Charles Oliveira versus Islam. And if Charles Oliveira fights like he did against Beneil Dariush, I see Charles getting it done in the first or second, honestly. I mean, in that fight against Islam where he was fighting for the belt, he just didn't seem like himself. And I think he has that hunger again. He's been focusing on his camps, being happy and not stressing so much about the fight. Mm-hmm. And I think that joy of having his family around him and his friends has really helped him. And his faith in God has carried him a long way. Every fight, after and before, he talks about Jesus and his faith in Christianity. And it's really catapulted him into an upper echelon. I mean, he's Charles Oliveira, Bronx Illuminato. I mean, nothing else to say. I'm so happy with that fight. I mean, yeah. Do you have any opinions about that fight?
Oh, Lord. Okay. So we were all in the same room together.
It's me, my friend Anthony, and Charles. No, and Kaitlin. Charles was not there.
Charles was in the hospital at this point.
Charles was in the hospital with appendicitis. He was supposed to be here with us, but
yeah,
as you were saying.
Just in that room, the tension of Gabe just like hyper shaking before the fight was crazy. As soon as he won, on the couch, over the couch, fucking doing somersaults and shit. Like the most excited I've ever seen Gabe for a fighter to win, like that, like absolute.
I'm passionate. Joy. I mean, he's the most exciting fighter I've ever seen in my life, and I'll hold that to the day I die. I mean, I've never seen a fighter and been so excited. Kevin Holland's up there, but I mean, he's not doing the stuff Charles Oliveira is doing, and he's the most exciting champion of all time. I'm willing to argue he's better than Khabib on the lightweight GOAT list. I mean, I think he's the greatest lightweight of all time. And if he beats Islam, there's no doubting it after that. It's unlike John Jones, where he's got all this controversy. Charles Oliveira has no controversy. Every time he steps in the cage, he puts it on people, and if he doesn't show up, he comes back and he'll show up later. So
it was an amazing fight. And
the true main event, the people's main event.
That, I believe, is what, like, the golden highlight of this card. Because the main event was great, but Charles Oliveira... It
wasn't Charles Oliveira. Yeah. It was not Charles Oliveira. And I gotta say, that new back tattoo looks fucking clean. I got a great photo for my background of Charles Oliveira with his arms spread out.
The lion tattoo.
And Charles Oliveira spoke a little bit of English. He was on the mic speaking English.
Did you see how surprised DC and the translator were? They were just so proud.
I mean, that translator, he's always been the translator for Charles Oliveira. He almost always is. And you can see, look at his eyes. He's like, I'm about to lose my job. I don't blame him. But that was such a great fight.
Hello, Vancouver. Who's the champ?
Who is the
Charles Oliveira.
The champ has a name. It's Charles Oliveira. It was such broken English, but I was still happy to see it regardless. And then moving on to the main event. Domination from Manuel. It's nothing new we're opposed to seeing.
I'll be honest, I thought that it would be kind of a closer fight where it's just bodies on bodies.
Especially since the beginning of the fight, Irene Aldana almost dropped Amanda Nunes. She definitely stunned her with that slip to right hand. It was a really good strike. And I personally had Irene Aldana winning on the Riddick scorecard. I kind of thought it could go either way just because Irene Aldana has some of the best boxing I've seen in MMA. I mean, that Mexican boxing style is so like transcendent of the sport, and it really shows. It showed in this fight too, but the rest of the skills weren't there. The grappling skills weren't there. The timing wasn't there, and she kind of just got mauled from pillar to post after that first round. The first round was only a glimpse of like what was going to happen, and it was not pretty. Amanda Nunes with the fake 145 belt, which he didn't defend for 2 years, has retired. And as a double champ, she's definitely the greatest women's fighter of all time. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean,
her dominant run was just...
Yeah, you can't stack her up to anyone. And I mean, I don't blame her for retiring. She's loaded. She's happy, and she can go spend time with her family now. So I think it was the right time to retire on top. Without more controversy or anything like that.
Well, now, do you have anything to say about, like, was it Juliana Pena, being pissy about her?
The most unlikable women's fighter on the planet. Disrespects Amanda Nunes, says she's running from her after getting dominated for 5 straight rounds. I understand they were supposed to fight. That was a thing that was supposed to happen. Yeah. And she pulled out. So how do you, I mean, injury or not, how can you say she's running? She did her part, and she probably was going to retire after fighting Juliana Pena.
I bet she already made up her mind that this is my last fight. That's it.
Amanda Nunes is a very decisive person. And you can tell it with her striking and her grappling. She's one hell of a mixed martial artist, and I don't see how you can go and say she's running from you. I mean, it's complete ignorance. Pena is so full of herself. She's actually not beat a single fighter on the UFC roster that's active right now, other than Amanda Nunes, who's not active anymore. So she's 0-2 against active fighters in the UFC right now.
Nice.
And she's gonna say, "Oh wow,
Do you think she's next in line to go for
a title?
Whatever? Yeah.
Well, they're going to get rid of the 145 belt.
Oh.
It's not going to be division anymore. I mean, Amanda Nunes is the only fighter in that division, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not.
She's like the only fighter there. There's no rankings otherwise. So. It's
odd. I don't know much.
A lot of chicks that weigh 145.
That's what I was going to say. Like,
it's a hard weight class to make, and Nunes was so dominant, she kind of cleared it out, and nobody wanted to fight her in it. It was initially made for Chris Cyborg. Oh. That was her weight division. She's the reason they made that division, because she would just smash chicks, and she couldn't cut so much weight anymore. There's like disgusting videos of her cutting weight where she's
I remember.
Drenched in tears and screaming, and such a bad time.
Where it looks like she's seizing. Yeah, I remember that.
She's such a jacked, large woman, so I'm kind of with the reason Dana White's giving to cut out.
I guess I'm just like not that familiar with like women's like bracket to know that like they have was it straw weight and stuff like that, where like super tiny chicks.
Straw weight, flyweight, bantamweight. That's all they're gonna have now, which is fine by me. I mean,
so they cut it off at 135.
I believe they're cutting off at 135. And I think it's a good decision by Dana White. He kind of announced it. He teased it. He said it's probably going to happen.
So with the retirement now, it just dissolves.
Hopefully, they add atom weight, which is 105, which is what I'm hoping for. It's popular in one championship, and it works in one championship. A lot of these chicks don't really weigh enough to be 115, to be honest. I mean, it gives the shorter chicks more chances to get their footing in the league, and I think it's a lot more entertaining of a division than 145, which most people can't make. So that was UFC 289. Really exciting card. Really happy to watch it. We have another fight night this weekend. Vettori versus Cannonier. Two really bulky middleweights that cut a lot of fucking weight. That'll be a really exciting card. A lot of guys in the prelims I know, actually.
On rapid fire?
I'll rapid fire through a few of these. We got Zach Pauga versus Modestas Bukauskas. The only thing I've ever seen Modestas Bukauskas do is destroy his knee from Khalil Roundtree and get knocked unconscious by Jimmy Crute. So I don't really expect a whole lot from him. Zach Pauga is a new UFC newcomer. He lost on the Ultimate Fighter to Kamaru Usman's brother, Muhammad Usman, who has a really good striking game, but not the most entertaining fighter. But I kind of see it going Zach Pauga's way. He has really good striking. Overall, a really fun fighter to watch. So, yeah, going to Zach Pauga. We've got the very gritty and fun Dan Argueta versus Ronnie Lawrence. Ronnie Lawrence doesn't bring a whole lot to the table. Kind of a jiu-jitsu wrestler. And Dan Argueta is honestly a dog. I saw him get dominated in his last fight for 3 straight rounds. And then at the very end of that round, he came back and won that fight. So it was really exciting to watch him in the cage. And he's also from The Ultimate Fighter. But he shaved his head bald. So he looks a little bit different than he used to because he used to have like a mullet.
Oh.
So definitely a change up in the appearance. But really pulling for Dan Argueta in this fight. In the next fight, we have Teresa Bleda versus Gabriela Fernandez. I don't really believe I'm familiar with either of these fighters. Hopefully it's a good fight. It's in the women's flyweight division. Don't have any more comments about that one. And then in flyweight, I'm surprised he's still in the UFC. We have Zhalgas Zhumagulov versus Felipe Bunes. Zhalgas is, I believe, 1-4 or 1-5 in the UFC. He is a flyweight now. Mm-hmm. I think he's fought in bantamweight, but in flyweight, he hasn't had a whole lot of success. He's a lot of controversial decisions. They're always split. Mm-hmm. So you could have given either of the fights that he lost from split decision to him. So I believe that's why the UFC has kept on to him, because he is an entertaining fighter. He's a very good fighter, but he's been on the wrong decision of a few decisions. They're on the wrong side of a few decisions. I think it would probably be a good fight.
Do you think it's going to kind of be like his make or break it fight?
Absolutely. If he loses this fight, there's no way the UFC keep him around.
Because they can't really justify the
record. Unless they're pulling a Sam Alvey where a guy doesn't win a fight for 8 straight fights and they still keep him on. We won't talk about that because he's probably like tied to the mob or something. Smiling Sam Alvey. I don't understand how he kept fighting for the UFC after he got destroyed like 8 straight times. After that, we have Carlos Hernandez versus Denise Bondar. I know Carlos Hernandez, and I see him winning this fight. Bondar doesn't bring a whole lot to the table when it comes to striking. So I got Carlos winning that one, probably by TKO in the 2nd or 3rd round. I'm a big fan of his. Then we have Kang Kyung Ho versus Christian Quinones. Quinones is pretty decent bantamweight. He's a little slow when it comes to like strikes coming in on him, throwing out there, because he is a counter striker, but he's a little bit delayed. But I don't think the other fighter he's fighting brings too much to the table, so I think he bounces out of there with a win, probably decision. But I could see that being a good fight if they really push the pace. Then after that, we have a lot of flyweight fights in this card, a lot of bantamweight too. Wow, I think the whole prelims is flyweight and bantamweight, except for the very first fight, which is Zach Pauga with that light heavyweight. But we have Jimmy Flick and Alessandro Costa. I know Jimmy Flick, really good with grappling. Kind of a fun little personality. He looks like a little hillbilly, and he's got some fun tendencies. But I don't know the guy he's fighting. So probably gonna go Jimmy Flick's way. Have you heard of Jimmy Flick before?
I have not, no sir.
He's not a big name. None of these guys in the prelims usually are, but Jimmy Flick's pretty fun to watch. So that'll be a good little flyweight fight. And then we have Raoni Barcelos versus Miles Johns, the two guys who are definitely deserve to be the featured prelim out of all these guys. Miles Johns throws bombs. This guy is seriously a killer. The only guys I've seen him lose to are guys who also throw bombs. He doesn't have the greatest defense when it comes to striking, but
he can throw.
Yeah, he can definitely throw. Raoni Barcelos is really good too. I don't see how that one goes. Honestly, it could be a knockout for either guy. I think it'll probably be Miles Johns just because his right hand is fucking explosive. But it is pretty decent prelims. Not the most known fighters, even for me, who won't skip a card to save his life. But nonetheless, it might be one of those cards which is like UFC 289, where the prelims show out instead of being boring. So we'll see on that one.
We'll stay hopeful.
As soon as we get to the main card, we have some more notable names, starting with Nicolas Dalby and Muslim Salikhov. Welterweight fight. Salikhov is really, really good. Dalby's pretty good too, but I see it going Muslim's side. He's got really good wrestling, and he's overall a pretty good striker. So probably decision, but it has potential to be a really good fight. So then we have lightweight with Manuel Torres and Nicolas Motta. Motta in his last fight got knocked unconscious by Jim Miller.
That was the one we watched. It was a few months ago, wasn't it?
A few months ago, correct. That's the one where he caught him with the right hand when he was coming in. Nicolas Motta is really young, so we'll see what he brings to the table. I think Manuel Torres gets it done. Manuel Torres has really good striking. Overall, pretty fun prospect to watch.
Now, are they kind of both like kind of young, active fighters sort of deal?
Not the most active, but I would say they're both pretty young prospects, and they have a lot of room to grow. So we'll see how they've evolved into this fight. Mm-hmm. Then we have Pat Sabatini and Lucas Almeida. Featherweight fight. Not too familiar with these fighters. I've definitely seen them fight before, but I don't really know the most about them. Probably going to stay a striking affair. They both usually stick to striking. I think I've seen Sabatini on the floor before. Not the most impressive, but probably a striking affair. We'll see who pushes the pace in that fight and really gets it done. So after that, we have Armen Petrosyan versus Christian Leroy Duncan. Interesting fight. Christian Leroy Duncan, undefeated fighter, and Armen Petrosyan is a world-class champion kickboxer. Has a crazy kickboxing record. I believe in his last fight he did lose, though. He lost to Caio Barayu. We watched him when we were at that party.
Oh.
He's got one with free spirit across his neck. Yeah, with the glasses. He's pretty funny. But pretty close fight. Armen Petrosyan also has beaten Greg Arjigas, which is crazy. I love RoboCop. Greg Arjigas is a really good fighter, and I believe Armen lost that fight, but it was really close, which is hard to do against Greg Arjigas. But I see Armen Petrosyan probably knocking him unconscious with a head kick. I don't think there's too much experience on the side of Christian Leroy Duncan. So it's a long name.
Is RoboCop his nickname?
Petrosyan?
Yeah.
No, that's Greg Rodriguez.
Okay.
I don't know Petrosyan's nickname, but I'm a big fan of RoboCop.
I'm a fan of RoboCop.
Yeah. So then we have a really fun matchup between Arman Tsarukyan and Joaquim Silva. You know who's winning this fight, and it's my boy Arman Tsarukyan. In his last fight, dominated against a really good fighter. And before that, he had one of my favorite grappling fight of all time by far, which is Gamrot versus Tsarukyan, which is just a constant rolling match.
Oh, you showed me this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, complete. He would take single legs, and he'd have his own leg above his head, and he still wouldn't get taken down. He'd just roll out of it, or just keep stepping and land straights from the guard. Do
you expect to see some scrambles with these two,
honestly,
or just domination?
I think Armen puts him away real fast. We could see some scrambling, but it would be Arman on the top the whole time instead of it being back and forth. Mm-hmm. I don't think Joaquim Silva has anything for Arman Tsarukyan. So, two Armans back to back, by the way. Arman and Armen. Armen Petrosyan and Arman Tsarukyan. Thought that was kind of funny. And then the main event, Jared Cannonier versus Vettori. Both have a very similar style when it comes to striking generally. I think Cannonier is definitely more of a power puncher, and Marvin Vettori is a volume striker. When it comes to build in general striking, they're very similar. They're not too flashy. They stick to the basics, very technical. I don't know who wins this fight.
I do want to see Cannonier win.
I do want to see Cannonier win too. I'm a big fan of Cannonier since his weight cut, because he's one of the coolest weight cuts of all time. Went from a big, fat, heavyweight to a jacked to the gills middleweight. And he's really funny to listen to with his crystals and his energy. I mean, he's real inspirational too. So I want to see Jared Cannonier get a big payday against Marvin Vettori. It'll be fun to see. But if Marvin Vettori gets to the ground, I don't see it going any other way than his. So Cannonier needs to keep it standing, blast head kicks, and keep his jab and his right straight up. I haven't seen anyone knock Marvin Vettori unconscious. I believe he's never been knocked unconscious. And he's hard to crack. I mean, he's fought to the likes of Paulo Costa, who's head kicked him into the gills. Head kicked him into the fucking stands, and he would just eat it and then come forward with a boxing combo. And same thing with Israel Adesanya. He's fought Israel Adesanya. He's fought everyone who's who in middleweight. I believe he's even fought Robert Whittaker. I could be wrong, but his chin seems uncrackable. He has one of my favorite war cries of all time too. Sounds like an orc from the Middle Ages. But that's a really popular meme. They always showed the war cries of certain fighters, and it's Mike Perry going ah, and then it's Marvin Vettori going like fucking Shrek. It's pretty funny. But
do you think Cannonier has the skills to put him away? If you think that he's never been knocked out before?
I don't think anyone knocks Marvin Vettori unconscious. I think that brick head of his is just pure Italian Parmesan cheese, and it's just like hardened over the years. Because I don't think he's crackable. I mean, it's honestly ridiculous. I don't know what he might just be really well hydrated during the fights or something, but I've seen stuff hit him that should just destroy him. He's a very good guard. His guard is very tight, so that could be part of it. But regardless, I do see it going Cannonier decision. But yeah, I want to see Marvin Vettori. It trains with the best of the best. He trains with Sean Strickland, trains with all these world-class fighters, and I want to see him add a new ripple to his game and evolve a little bit, because I haven't seen him really do too much new in his most recent fights. He's been in Thailand fighting Muay Thai. So
Thailand?
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Thailand's a great place. But yeah. Anything we want to go over?
No. I don't have anything really specific. I just want to bring back up the Charles Oliveira fight.
Charles Oliveira! The champ has a name. Is a Makhachev, and he's coming for you. He's coming for you with a vengeance, motherfucker. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Abu Dhabi, you're going to see all the fucking hijabs and robes in the fucking crowd, and they're all going to be with their hands in their heads after Charles Oliveira head kicks him into the fucking stands.
I started something. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just so excited. I mean, I don't dislike Islam Makhachev. I think he talks a lot more shit than he actually backs up. And he seems to think he's hot shit. And I mean, right now he's a champ, and he dominated Charles in their last fight. He has no reason to not believe so. But I think Charles Oliveira is on his level, and he's about to prove that. The hungry lion on his back, represents who he is. And he's got his family on his chest, and that's who he's fighting for. I don't see a lot of Islam's personal life, so I can't really go into detail with that. But Charles Oliveira puts it on his sleeve, and I mean, every day of camp before the fight happened with Beneil Dariush, he's FaceTiming his daughter. He's checking in on his family. I mean, he's not married anymore to his wife, but he still has a very close relationship with her, just so he can be close with his daughter. I mean, Islam's not very humble, so I think that's why I do pick sides against him pretty often. But if Charles keeps it standing and Charles does what he needs to, I see him putting Islam out, maybe second round. And I think that knockout's coming. I've seen Islam get rocked before. I've seen him get knocked unconscious, and I think Charles Oliveira can make him quit. I think he can make him quit. So
yeah, just the last thing I want to leave with is awesome fight. Can't wait to see more.
Absolutely. And thank you for listening to the brutal MMA podcast.
We'll hopefully be back next week with a normal episode. Have a good night.